I hate RV salesmen that do these three things. Hey everyone, Shane here with another Thursday campfire rant. If you like these rants, don't forget to share them with a friend. Typically, I'm ranting about something that bothers me, or sometimes I'm just going over some things that I think you need to know, educational. Hopefully it brings some value to you. Go and check out the playlist. We have tons and tons of videos. Also, every Thursday we do a live community campfire rant that you can jump in and we can participate and answer questions for you live right on the spot. Today, I want to talk about why I hate most RV salesmen. I don't like saying I hate. That's actually one of the words we try to ban here at ROA. But I get frustrated with these types of RV salesmen. And essentially, I'm going to go over three things that I believe are red flags. And if you experience these three things, you should walk away and not work with that RV dealership. I learned this a few years ago. I can't remember who it was. I think I want to give credit to a guy named Dave Ramsey. He's a financial guy out of Tennessee, and he talks a lot about, just helps people with their finances. One of the things that I'm pretty sure I heard it from him was he always talks about, when you're working with anybody, ask the question, do they have a heart of a teacher? Or do they have a heart of a salesman? I took that advice to heart, and I feel like I use that all the time. Whether I need insurance, automotive insurance, or life insurance, or if I'm doing investing, or if I'm buying a house, right? Like, there are different types of realtors, investment advisors, and you run into them and you feel like either they're educating you or they're selling you. And I would like to say, if they're selling you, run away. Don't work with them. There's a lot of motivation behind those types of people that doesn't always lead to the best thing for you as the consumer. So always ask yourself, whenever you're working with anybody, not just buying RVs, does this person have a heart of a teacher or do they have a heart of a salesman? And I don't think there's anything wrong with sales. I consider myself a sales person, right? I've done a lot of sales in my life, but I think there are bad salesmen and there are good salesmen. Here at ROA, we actually don't call our guys salesmen, we call them sales coaches. And the reason why we do that is because we want them to have the heart of a teacher or the heart of a coach. Because when you come to buy a camper from us, we want to make sure you're getting into the correct camper. So I mentioned that I was going to go over three things that you need to look for, and they're kind of red flags. So number one, when you walk into an RV dealership and you're looking at an RV, when you get to meet the salesman, in our situation, the sales coach, you're gonna start asking questions. If you sense like there's a little bit of an irritation with the salesman, if you have a lot of questions and they seem irritated, that's red flag number one. The next flag I would be looking for is, are they asking you questions? How many people do you have in your family? That's a great question. Like, how many people do you need to sleep? Also, your use case, right? Are you gonna be living in it? Are you gonna be going to campgrounds? Are you gonna be going off-grid? Because all of those things are gonna lead you to different situations, right? Whether the type of battery bank, whether you need solar, whether you don't. Because sometimes people, they don't intend to go off-road a lot. And so that might lead you to a different trailer. And are you gonna be touring the country? Are you gonna be traveling a lot? Are you gonna be more stationary and living in it? What kind of tow vehicle do you have? What are you towing it with? I'm shocked in how often RV salesmen will just try to sell you the coolest, the biggest, most fanciest thing in the world, and they don't even care about what your tow vehicle is. And then all of a sudden you come to pick up your trailer and your tow vehicle's too small.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
Oh my goodness, that happens all the time. So a good RV salesman is going to ask you questions like, what type of tow vehicle do you have? All of those questions are going to lead you to different trailers, because that's going to put you in a certain range of type of campers we can show you. This is drives me crazy. When you go into an RV dealership and they're like, oh, what do you want your payments to be? Oh my goodness, that's terrible. That's like the worst. That's the last question you should be talking about, is money and what do you want your payments to be? Typically, yeah, you might have a budget and you might walk in and say, this is my budget, right? And that's the conversation to have. But it's crazy how, I don't want to say they're like predators, but there's some salesmen out there that are just terrible, and they lie just to get a sale, which is terrible. It's not a heart of a teacher, it's a heart of a salesman, and it's bad salesmen, right? And you want to run away from these people. So number two is, are they asking you questions, and good questions? And number three, I would say, do they have a good knowledge of the product? I mean, come on, people. Like, if you sell the product for a living, you should have good knowledge of it. We live in a day and age where they say sometimes the consumers can be more educated than the salesman. I think that's trash. Like, that is absolutely rubbish. When you walk into a dealership for a car, and if you know more about the car than the salesman, that's pretty terrible. Like, come on. An individual will go out and do 5 or 10 hours or maybe 20 hours of research on some cars, and then they'll go into a car dealership and have more knowledge on the car than the salesperson.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
That's, to me, sounds absurd. When the salesperson, that's like their living. Like, if you, for a living, sell a certain car, you should know more about that car than anybody on the freaking planet. Come on, like, let's just be real. Now, I want to give some people, some salesmen, a little bit of slack, right? Maybe you're brand new. Maybe it's your first day on the job. Yeah, and the consumer comes in and they know more about the product than you. Yeah, that's a good excuse. You're brand new. Maybe you've only been on the job for a month or two and you're learning. That's somewhat acceptable. But if you're working with a guy that's been on the job for 6 months plus and he doesn't know more about the product than you, then he's just lazy. Or he has the heart of a salesman, not a heart of a teacher. Because if he had a heart of a teacher, he would be educating himself on the product so that he could come and educate you on the product. It makes so much sense to me. If you go through that list, those 3 things, and they get irritated by you asking them a bunch of questions, that's an issue. It also might mean because they don't have a lot of answers because they're not very well educated on the product, which is also another, I mean, like, they kind of tie into each other. And then if they're not asking you good questions, well, once again, this is all going to come back to their education. If they don't have a good education on the product, they're not going to know the questions to ask you. I give them a little bit of slack if they're brand new. I don't want to give these people slack, but like, you're talking about these big mega dealers where they carry maybe like 500 to 1,000 trailers on their lot at any time. We have a lot of trailers on our lot, but they're all the same brand. But some of these dealers, they'll have 20 or 30 different brands, and within those brands they might have a dozen or 2 dozen models on each brand, and they have 500 to 1,000 trailers, and the manufacturers are changing things constantly, and there's not a lot of consistency in the RV industry as there is in maybe the automotive industry. I give those guys a little bit of slack, but at the same time, I wouldn't work with those big box stores, because the service that you get from them is like going to Walmart. You shouldn't go buy a trailer at Walmart because there's so many intricacies of a trailer. There's so many things that you have to know how to function and work it, that going to a self-serve checkout aisle at Walmart, that might work for bananas because you know how to eat them and peel them, right? Hopefully. But with trailers, there's so many new things and so many details that you need somebody to help you and educate. And so I would recommend working with smaller to medium-sized RV dealerships because they tend to sometimes choose a few brands and they become very educated in those brands, and then they can become a very good resource for you as a new owner or a potential owner. They can educate you and help you go through the trailers that will best suit you as an owner or an individual. There's no such thing as one trailer fits all. There's a lot of great trailers out there, but there's so many different variables of what you're going to be using it for, and that's why you need to go to a place that has a heart of a teacher. And those 3 things, look for those, and you'll be prepared to go out and make a good, educated decision. And if you just walk in and they just try to set you up on like, how much do you want to pay? That drives me crazy when people come in, they're like, what do you want your monthly payments to be? Like, what are you talking about? That's, to me, predatory lending / RV selling, because you can push loans out 20 plus years. And that's not okay. 20, 30 year loans, you have to understand that if you go out and buy a trailer, that's going to depreciate. You don't want to get a 30-year loan. That's crazy. That's maddening. And I could do a rant on that. Maybe I will next time. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to go check out these other rants, and hopefully you learned something. Make some comments below. If you have actually any good comments or questions, we will read through the comments and potentially we'll do a campfire rant and answer some questions that you may have. So thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.